Good afternoon and welcome to another live event from Nextview, live from the Design Thinking Center Amsterdam this time. We're going to talk about field service lightning today, and I'm excited to have a great lineup of speakers today. We have Perry Leijten, Director After Sales and Service from Pentair. Welcome, Perry.
Thank you.
We have Marcel van Dijk, Principal Field Service for Salesforce.
Thanks.
Welcome. And last but not least, we have Pieter Hendricks, our Professional Services and Utilities Industry Lead from Nextview. Welcome, Pieter.
Thanks.
So we're going to talk about field service today, and if you're a regular to our webinars, you know that we really like to make these sessions as interactive as possible. So what we would like you to do is, if you have any questions, remarks for our panelists, on the right side of your screen there's a text box where you can post your questions. Questions will end up on my iPad here, and I'll relay them to the appropriate panelists. But by all means, make this as interactive as possible. Pick their brains, ask for their opinions. That makes the whole session a lot more fun. For the session today about field service, we looked at the Gardner paper, The Future of Field Service, for inspiration. And we found a lot of interesting findings in there. And Pieter, I believe that you have something to share about these findings from Gardner.
Yeah, thanks for the introduction, Lars, indeed. In this paper called The Future of Field Service Management, Gardner did some research on 4 typical operating models for field service companies. And each individual operating model has its own characteristics. And in this model, as you can see on the slide now, is that there's a difference in the complexity of the service and in to what extent the equipment is centered, that the service is about actual equipment. So, and if you would position those in this quadrant, you can also see that there is a degree to what level of control to the outcome a field service company can have. So for example, in the appointment centric, you will see very often that there's a very high volume of, let's say, field service visits that have to be executed and performed, but that the actual complexity of the service is quite low, and that there are not really complex assets or equipments involved, and that the field service company isn't really end responsible or has little control about the outcome of it. If you look, for example, to the top left, which is more in the equipment-centric part, you can find mechanical engineering companies that actually build things and need to, let's say, maintain and service those kind of facilities. And if you would have a look at the top right, outcome-centric, that is where often these field service companies can also charge a premium for the services they actually deliver. The service is complex, the equipment is complex, and they want to take full responsibility over the outcomes and the performance of that type of asset. And each individual, let's say, operating model has its own challenges and trends that are going on in the market. And for that, we want to have a look at it and dive a little bit deeper into it. And just to, let's say, support it with some examples, what you could imagine appointment-centric can be, for example, cable installers. And with that, we also want to say right away, field service is not only about hard hats, about technical engineers that drive to customer with a van full of parts and tools. It is a much broader audience, and with that also the solution, but more on that later. For example, if you look at the equipment-centric, you could see the mechanical companies for example, a drilling platform where somebody has to perform some maintenance. So again, each and all different operating models have their own challenges, and typical companies that operate in such a model.
Okay, thank you. So a quick one for you, Marcel, because if there's so many different operating models, how does Salesforce support them?
Well, we have customers across these models, and our proposition is built of 3 separate focus areas. On the left side, we have the digital customer engagement. So really getting the customer, for instance, an appointment-centric customer, you get a lot of appointments in. And what we want to allow our customers to do is to get the customer in the know. So via SMS, text, or a channel of their choice, they can follow really where the appointment is. They can schedule their own appointments, which is quite difficult usually to do yourself. In complex organizations, it's much more difficult to do. And in the middle, you have the Service Console of Salesforce. So this is where you can collaborate in equipment focused customers. You can collaborate with procurement, with people who need to get permits to get things installed, for instance, to really know that everything the field engineer has to do is there when they have to go into their van to go to the customer. On the right side, you see all the appointments coming in, and there you can, for outcome-specific customers, really make sure you have the right engineer at the right time with the right tools there at the customer to fix things the first time. So that's really the three areas that we work in. We have a customer also, Penny. Can you explain what Pentair is doing in these 4 quadrants?
Yes, Marcel, of course, by all means. Pentair is a very diversified company, so that means we operate in very many different product market combinations. And to give one example in which we typically are, let's say, developing further and growing in our field service business is in the biogas application. So one of the products that we are selling to our customers is a biogas plant. And when you look at complexity and accountability, I think this is the, well, let's say the most top right product that we have in our portfolio. And you can actually also see that when we are discussing service with that end customer on the biogas plants, because its uptime is really the number 1, 2, and 3 top criteria that we are looking for. And I think that exactly is being mentioned as the characteristics of that outcome-centric part of the matrix. On the other hand, we also have more components business like we use to mention them in Pentair. These are typical products like, for instance, hygienic valves, like pumps, as well as quality control equipment. These are more, let's say, our off-the-shelf products, which are much more related to the top left bottom of the Gardner segmentation matrix. So the appointment-centric part, where it's all about efficiency, all about standardization, and being able to quick and dirty, also with some of the technologies that we are now implementing, as well from the Salesforce FSL, particularly on an efficiency level, just to make sure that we do an efficiency and a good job, particularly in those customers on those products.
Yeah, very nice. So Marcel, I believe you wanted to show us something from the Salesforce platform.
Yeah, so first we see appointment booking on mobile, and in a B2C area, you see this a lot. So you can schedule your own appointment and do everything yourself. And in B2B, where in the back end, you have all these skills, you need to know if all the products are purchased, the availability of the engineers, the locations, the skill sets. So there's a lot going on the backside, and you don't want to show that to your customers. And you also don't want to call us and then we'll come. You know, it's not going to work that way. So you want to give the customer the opportunity to maintain their own appointments and to schedule them in themselves. And that's what we do on this screen. So it's a very modern interface where customers can schedule. Now if we go to the next one, we see all these opportunities coming in. You know, all these scheduled work orders coming in with assigned to the right engineers. And here the planner can do all the difficult parts. So we give them one screen where they can really make sure the right engineer is going to the right place at the right time. So these are the 2 screens. We make it very easy for the customers, and we make sure the toolkit is there for the planners to actually plan within the SLAs that they need to.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. Let's see if we have a question from the audience. We actually do. Can we get a copy of the Gardner report? Yes, as we announced in our invites as well. After the event, all attendees received the Gardner copy for free. And I highly recommend reading it. There's besides the quadrant, there's a couple of really interesting findings in there. So by all means. If you have any further questions, by all means put them in the text box, and I'll be able to relay them to the panelists right here. So we've seen a couple of features from the field service Lightning. But what about as a company, if you want to improve your performance or shift even operating models, which I can imagine? Pieter, can you tell us something about that?
Yeah, for sure. So, and thanks for the great examples, Marcel, from the platform, and Barry from the type of businesses that can even appear within one single company, like Pentair in this case. It can be quite difficult to actually determine your roadmap and your prioritization on what you want to focus on your field service roadmap. So what we did is, based on our experience in the field service business, we created the field service, the Nextview field service maturity matrix. And I think it's displayed on the screen over now. And what we did is we, let's say, broke down the field service business into a number of main categories, including subcategories. And for each individual category, we identified and indicated examples of a certain functionality or way of working. And we divided them over different maturity levels, as you can see over here, from understanding to managing to leading. And it can be, if you want to become the best within your specific field service operating model, that you're looking for what should I focus on. And if I am a equipment-centric company, it would make sense to, let's say, get some focus on then the asset part of your solution. And for that we provide not only inspiration but also tools that can challenge you in determining that roadmap. So yeah, that's what the field service maturity matrix is all about. I think what you can imagine as well, and it also ties closely with the Gardner operating model, there are some specifics around industries. And I think we have a visual about that as well. What you can imagine, a utilities company which is very on the outcome-centric, outcome-focused operating model, you would really like to invest on the actual 360 view of your assets. Where are my assets? What maintenance plans do we have? What service did we execute in the past? And an engineer really needs good access to that information before he goes on site to guarantee the uptime of the grid in this specific example. So really focusing on asset management, and in this case preparation and execution of the work order is very important. To conclude maybe with a final industry view on this, for professional services, what you will see when you actually want to scale the volume of your business in an efficient way, you are looking for a way to maybe using AI or data or easily onboard, let's say, a flex capacity of engineers. You're looking for very strong planning capabilities. But also for those people that actually get at the doorstep of your customer, very often in a B2C context as well, it's important that you provide them a premium experience, so how we would call it. For example, no paperwork, real-time updates, when will the person arrive, etc., etc. So with this field service maturity matrix, which we have created at Nextview, we really hope to provide a compass to companies who want to, let's say, define a roadmap for field service based on the operating models as introduced by Gardner in their paper.
Yeah, so regardless of which operating model you're actually in.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Let's see if we have a question from the audience. We actually do. Is it possible to share the maturity matrix? Yeah, obviously we would love to share that with you. So after this event, get in touch with us and we'd love to take you through it, no problem at all. It's been really helpful in the engagements that we've had so far. I have another question coming in. How does the maturity matrix help in defining your roadmap? And I'll ask that to Pieter.
Yeah, and we touched it very briefly already, but to put some extra context to it. Normally when we use this field service maturity matrix, we actually, let's say, do a workshop with a customer in which we start with their value drivers. What are your core value drivers for your organization or your service organization? And based on those value drivers, we determine what would make sense based on your operating model to actually focus on. Where should you put the most priority on your roadmap? And the outcome of that, out of the workshop, will be that you get, let's say, categorized processes and per process features and functions that you could, yeah, let's say, focus on in your projects. So actually, again, I would say it's the compass for your to get to a valuable field service roadmap. Yeah.
Yeah. Great. So we've used this for the implementation at Pentair as well. The subtitle of the session today is From Learning to Leading. I think that's the roadmap that you are on, Perry. Can you briefly introduce Pentair to the audience for those of them who don't know Pentair, and talk us a little bit about the project?
Yeah, if you can go to the next slide. It gives you a little bit of an example of all the great stuff that we are providing to our customers from the entities that we are currently working on the field service part, because also the field service part of their business is there, the largest part. And as you can see, it's a large diversity of products, as I already mentioned as well, with a combination of the Gardner segmentation matrix. Just to give a couple of numbers, we are really like 200 people with more than 300 assets being served with this 200 people, with some 30,000 orders per year, service orders that we are managing from our organization, including as well some 16,000 spare part orders. So it means it gives you a little bit of an idea of the content and the volume which is being spread over these different products in the different setup of the service portfolio. And on that service portfolio, I would like to go in the next slide to give the audience a little bit of an idea of what actually this service portfolio looks like. So it's built up out of 6 elements, as been shown here on the screen, where it is split between the different elements from spare parts as well as from the maintenance. We have the split between corrective and preventive maintenance, but as well on the 24/7 technical support, where we as well more and more with connecting to our products in a remote setup, just to make sure that we have the right support in place to our customers. And I think also when we looked at, let's say, the most important things that we are working on in this portfolio, in this service concept, is around a couple of keywords or critical success factors, if you like, which are also mentioned on this sheet. Like for instance, being quick to respond, so we need to be fast when either it's going for something to quote or something to fix at the customer. We need to be very quick and agile, because that's, I think, one of the most requirements that customers are asking from us. At the same time, make sure that we do first-time fix. So we make sure that we have a solution in place that is also, let's say, recurable, so that we don't run into the same issue one time and time again, and that the first-time fix also is a structural solution that the customer is looking for. But in the end, well, in further developing our maintenance program and in the operational excellence of our processes, well, that was one of the reasons that we some time ago decided to start up with this project in FSL, because we really felt at that time that it would be also coming from this roadmap, from our ideas, to get an acceleration there to start with this project. So that was a little bit like the background from our organization, and where FSL came in to help us to accelerate the improvements, and with that in this, well, then the growth of the business.
Yeah. Beautiful. And so besides having a broad portfolio, you also rolled it out 6 different entities, 3 countries. Mm-hmm. How did that affect the project?
Well, a lot of challenges, of course. Obviously, I mean, 6 different sites in 3 different countries, although all in Europe, in Netherlands, Germany and Denmark, but all working from their own specific procedures, from their own specific processes, as well being supported by their own legacy system. So there was a lot of harmonization to be done in order to get us in the right starting position to work on the preparation and in the end the implementation of the field service Lightning functionality between those different entities. So yeah, a lot of challenges from different entities and from a different point of view, which we really had from the very first start had to harmonize to actually get a good start with the project.
Yeah, that must have been quite a challenge. So what was the goal of the implementation?
Well, the goal is already mentioned, just really to get this harmonization between the processes, as well as being able to, let's say, work more together as one team. Because in the end, we are dealing as well with customers from the different products that also are buying our different products from the different sites. And we feel it's very important to really act as one face to the customer, one service face, one Pentair service face to the customer. And in combination with this harmonization of processes, that was one of the reasons as well to start up with this project, because in the end it would enable us to get more that face and that look and that feel that the customers really felt there's one organization there for them to work on them and then to get the improvements in place.
Yeah. And so looking at the success criteria, you've obviously given this a lot of thought. How about the results so far?
Well, results, first results really are kicking in, and I think the one that I would like to mention here first is the install base transparency that we created from having this now in one system, being Salesforce. And this enables us to get a very better overview and transparency of where our products are, what is happening with them, as well as it will create an as-maintained status of those assets, of those products. Because all the work orders and all the cases that we are going to create with field service, they are going to be connected to our assets and rolling up to the account, being visible more in a 360 view, as well as with salespersons and any other colleagues outside also of the service organization in Pentair. So that really is, I think, one of the biggest successes already being perceived. And then secondly, one of the options that we were looking at as well was to have one legacy system being decommissioned, which was at our Jungpumpe site in Germany. So it was really one of the biggest, I'll say, must-haves coming from the project, and we succeeded in doing that. And we have now their field service Lighting as a full running, full swing alternative for the old legacy system we had in place there. So I think that are 2 examples of some of the results. But as it has been shown here, there are quite some more to go after for the future.
Yeah, very nice. We actually have a question from the audience, and it's how do you define the central way of working with so many entities? Now, actually, I know because Pieter has been leading the project from a Nextview perspective. Can I ask you that question?
Yeah, sure, without doubt. Yeah, I think one of the core principles of the project was really try to get into the shoes and beneath the hard hat of the engineers of Pentair within the different roles at these different business units. Because the better you understand the needs of the users, the better you can tune the solution, right? Sounds obvious, but how are you going to do that? So, based on our design thinking methodology, we said, why not kick it off with, let's say, the on-site visits, as we call them. So, we defined the core project team consisting of both the Pentair colleagues and the Nextview team members, and we actually visited all 6 sites and actually stepped into the van on the passenger seat of the engineer and drove to the customer to really get a first-hand experience and view on what data is relevant, how do the processes look like, what are the customer touch points, where can we add the most value, and where is the biggest challenge now. And we did it actually for all 6 sites, which was very exciting and also interesting to learn more about the specifics about the business that you cannot capture in, let's say, process flows by actually being on site. So that was very valuable, but we also stepped into the shoes of the planner. How is the planning made? How is the order handling shown? So we spent some time on that, and after we visited all 6 entities, we invited all stakeholders from the project in our design thinking center in Eindhoven for a 2-day session. And in that 2-day session, we have been, let's say, exploring common grounds. And based on those common grounds over these 6 entities, we came to a to-be process and experience for the engineer, for the planner, but also for the customer. And we use that, let's say, harmonized processes as basis for our backlog for the product. And I think now, to loop it back to the results, these 3 entities that are now using Salesforce Field Service Lighting are actually working in one and the same Salesforce application, while the business and the type of products they sell or install is quite different. So I think to that extent we were quite successful. And as Perry mentioned, we're still focusing on realizing a lot of more results and targets, but yeah, we're quite proud of what we have been able to achieve today. So to wrap it up very shortly, really stepping into the shoes of the field service engineers was crucial to a, let's say, good backlog and good requirements for a good solution.
Yeah, very powerful. We have another question from the audience, and once again, call to action for the audience. If you have any questions, by all means, share them with us. And this one is for Perry. Which system did you use before you started with Field Service Lighting?
Well, for the example mentioned that we decommissioned in Germany with our site of June Pump, it was Leijten, so it was really, truly said, a legacy system.
Yeah.
As well as it's not only, let's say, the planning system that we are using, but as well our ERP systems are different between, for instance, also the plant in Denmark and Netherlands. So it's not only the planning functionality or software that we are talking about that are different, but also we are working from different source systems come from the ERP.
So that's a lot of change management.
That's a lot of change management, and like also mentioned by Pieter, therefore it was so crucial to get really a good idea with the approach as mentioned by Pieter, to get that really good understanding of how things were before that we started with the project, and how, let's say, the functionality would come in place to be an alternative that we felt comfortable with, and in the end, as well, give them the go for the go live.
Obviously, yeah. And so we're looking at the first successes, the first results. You have 3 more entities to roll out. Is that the end, or is that the beginning? Is there something more on the roadmap?
Well, if you look from a field service management or field service lighting perspective, of course, yes, 3 down, 3 to go, definitely, and that's what we're going to work on. But at the same time, there's a lot of additional functionality, add-ons, which was also shown by Marcel in his presentation. There's a lot of other great stuff that we can actually really connect to what we have now gone live with the first 3 sites. So there's a lot of opportunity there. And it's not only on the service side, but as well in a broader sense within Salesforce. I mean, we in Pentair, we use as well in the Sales Cloud the functionality of Salesforce. So that means there's a lot of 360 opportunity view of customers that we can further explore on getting that as an additional functionality added to what we are doing in service at this moment.
Okay, very nice. Hey, if I look at the screen and I see your roadmap, I also see servitization. which I find very intriguing. With Nextview, our previous live online event was about servitization. We've actually done some research in conjunction with Nijrode Business University. What is the goal there? Where are you heading?
Well, definitely it's also been, as you shown on this roadmap, which is actually still on a lot of discussion internally as well, because I think there are many different scenarios that we can walk through this in this roadmap, so to say. But yes, of course, we are as well looking at a servitization model, which we also will develop further our concept in any pay-per-use environment. And when you look at one example that was also mentioned in this outcome-centric example of the biogas, I think this is also a good example where actually this accountability is being put further into, let's say, accountability on our side for making sure that we do everything possible from a service perspective, that in the end the customer is able to make the net revenues from, in this case, from his plant. And I think definitely we have a lot of people involved now in that discussion and in further developing it also with other colleagues from product management, from sales, and all of our specialists in the company to see where the opportunities are to move into that model of servitization, particularly on those products which mentioned are in that outcome-centric part of the business.
So still a lot of innovation to go.
Yeah, of course, and I think it's very exciting and very thrilling to see and on a continuous base that really the tool is enabling us, is giving us a good start, as a good first step. But there's a lot of further opportunities in both in service as well as in the combination of the different functionalities in the clouds of Salesforce that can help us accelerate in the end to what we really are looking for is growing the business.
Yeah.
Maybe to tap into that, Perry, if you also look at the roadmap, and I was really happy to have these discussions with Perry, and on the other hand there's also always, let's say, the challenge for a project when you know there's a lot of things possible, and Marcel will share something more about that. But what we try also to do with these kind of models is to show that first step one is really, let's say, digitize the process, that you have a digital foundation on which you can build those innovations of which will be shared in the future. And I think in the beginning of the project we were really able to, let's say, inspire people about everything that's possible on the platform, but then really get down to, okay, what will be the first step, and that it will not end after this first release. And I think with Jung Pumpen, which is in the bottom line, really digitizing the processes was a, let's say, important, fundamental, let's say, foundation to determine, and we have been able to deliver that now, and now we can really start focusing more on how can we become more user-centric and how customer-focused, and how can we really make use of the data. And in that area there are, of course, a lot of opportunities. So yeah, and some examples already, but I think Marcel, you can tell a lot about it, right?
Yeah, I mean, the first step, like you mentioned, it's making sure everything is digital and being able to track that work order from it being created, whether that be through IoT or a customer calling or a maintenance plan, and following that all the way through to a field technician fixing it and giving the feedback back to the system. As soon as you have that, you can start automating it. We have Einstein in the platform as well. They can give the next best action. So if IoT data comes in, Einstein can say, for instance, the best next action is to do a reset. That sends again a flow back to another system, which is doing the reset before an engineer is looking at it, or before anyone is basically looking at it. And if you start digitizing, you feed the beast, you feed the machine, and with more data, they can make more intelligent decisions. So everyone wants to be in the servitization space, but actually it brings us back to the people. So it brings us back to seeing what they actually do and following that data, and that's from a Salesforce perspective and field service perspective, the most enthusiastic thing I find about it.
Yeah, that's a beautiful bridge. Thanks, Seth. We get a question from the audience. What is the reaction of the employees using field service Lightning? Do they find it better than the old system that they've been working with?
Well, I think in the end, excuse me, in the end when you're looking for a new project and a new system, in the end to implement, there's always going to be some resistance, some change, which is a natural change to resistance to any change. But I think overall the acceptance of the, let's say, the added value of the project and of the FSL compared to what we have in place before, I think that was quite soon in the project already. And I think as well there, with those site visits and explaining people what they are going to get and on top of, and I think that was really the most important thing to take care of, that people were assured that there was something in place that they can do their day-to-day jobs, and then to come up, let's say, with the add-ons with additional functionalities that can use in their day-to-day activities. So first make sure that people feel comfortable. Yes, there is going to be change, but I can still do my day-to-day job. And then as an add-on, there will be more functionality like this planning boards, the digitizing of service reports, right, and what have you. So that was really then the add-on that we were further then as well discussing and handing over to our employees.
Yeah, so people-centric innovation.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, I mean, people now are very, very enthusiastic about it, and they are really eager as well to learn. So you actually see now that they start to work with the tool. There's a lot of, let's say, new opportunities. There are still some buttons that are now not allowed to use or not open yet. So there's a lot of anxiety to learn about what's more in, and as well asking themselves what that could also bring in the future to help them to even do a more better job.
Yeah, well, that's where you want to be, right? You want the users to ask for more.
Exactly, and I think that's the best driver for getting continuous improvement and as well being supported correctly by the system.
Yeah. And that there's a lot of more innovation possible is something that I'd like to step to as a next topic. Or did you have another question?
Yeah, just to maybe to conclude this topic, and I really want to say thank you to Perry for his vision already at the beginning of the project. And I just want to share an example with the audience now. Because I think it's closely connected to these kind of roadmaps, and I had some inspiring discussions with Perry in which he defined his vision and shared his vision, and we had a discussion about, okay, how are we going to move from a solution that can react for an easy break fix? So something is broken, customer calls, and we send somebody to the site to actually help them. That would be the first step. Next step would be to be able to do some remote diagnosis and prevent that something would get stuck based on maintenance plans and having a good overview. Maybe already some IoT sensors that have a live connection that we can predict when something gets broken. But the next step, and I found that really inspiring, and I'm happy that we are able to support that with the Salesforce platform, is that the sensors within that system, in this case, for example, a biogas plant, get sort of a, let's say, stomach ache, like a feeling in the belly, I'm not feeling that well. So maybe I need an engineer to give me, let's say, tuning of the system. But that would be the old scenario. In this vision of Perry, which I still find inspiring, is that when the system feels a little bit discomfort, that it knows how to tune its settings, and that you don't actually have to, let's say, create this work order via an optimized planning, send an engineer to it with the right tool. Yeah. It actually tunes itself. But this update of the actual system is logged into this one single Salesforce environment. So when the engineer or the remote tech department will have a look at the asset, they will see, okay, the system has updated itself, and an automated report can send to the customer. And all these things, and I know they are still on the roadmap, but all these things are possible. And it's really, I'm happy that we have these kind of visions, because it has to start from a vision. And I think Pentair is really having a clear view on where they want to move to.
Yeah. Funnily enough, we got a question from the audience. Could AI machine learning further enhance FSL? I think you've just answered that one. So very good. I'd like to move to the next topic, and I believe, Pieter, you wanted to take us through one of the innovations that we see in the field service area.
Yeah, and I really want to tie all these parts together. So again, moving from Pentair to the next topic, being remote service and field service. In the Pentair business, they have plants all over, plants and customers all over the globe, right? So you have an engineer that is at the office, at the main offices, or sends a parts order to the main office, and it has to be transported via plane or boat, whatever, to the other side of the globe, actually. And when the engineer gets on site, you really want to make sure that those parts that you send to that customer are actually the parts that the engineer needs to perform that maintenance or to, let's say, solve the issue that's actually on that site. And in such cases, when you want to minimize the risk of doing sending the wrong engineer or with the wrong tools or whatever, in some cases it can really help out to actually have eyes on site. And when you want to have eyes on site, that's where site call gets in place. And site call is really focused around remote service and field service as an extension to the Salesforce Service Cloud and Field Service Lightning solution. Some of the examples and the main KPIs which we try to focus on with these kind of solutions I think summarizing the slide, so less on-site visits, less cost because you send the right parts, higher uptime and faster response. So yeah, I think I can tell a lot about it, but maybe it really helps to just show you a demo that you can actually experience it and see how it would work.
Yep, definitely.
SiteCall Visual Support for Salesforce Field Service Management is a live visual assistance platform integrated directly into the Salesforce console and available on the App Exchange for all Salesforce Field Service customers. Today, field service organizations are under pressure to deliver fast, intelligent, and high-quality service. With SiteCall integrated into Salesforce Omnichannel, technicians can rapidly identify solutions to complex problems encountered in the field. SiteCall helps service organizations improve service completion time, reduce truck rolls, and improve uptime. Starting a SiteCall session is easy for the field technician and efficient for the remote expert. Here we have a technician with a work order to replace the front fork assembly of a motorcycle. After reassembly, the technician notices the tire warmer is not functioning properly. He is unable to resolve this issue without support. Rather than scheduling a second truck roll, the technician requests remote assistance. Starting a SiteCall session is easily done by accessing SiteCall within the Salesforce Field Service Lightning mobile app. The technician's request is routed to the appropriate agent through Salesforce Omnichannel. Now the technician and agent are connected in a collaborative live video call with two-way audio, enabling them to work together on a solution. The agent asks the technician to find the tire warmer's product number. The technician points the camera to the tire warmer model number. Using SiteCall's optical character recognition technology, the agent can capture the model number and convert the image to text. This makes it easy for the agent to copy and paste the model number into a search to locate product information. After reviewing the manual, the agent guides the technician to move to the side of the tire warmer. To improve visibility, the agent remotely turns on the mobile phone flashlight. Next, the agent recommends a fix and uses on-screen annotation to explain how to resolve the issue. After taking the corrective action, both the field technician and agent can see the indicator light is now on and the tire warmer is working properly. For record-keeping purposes, the agent takes a snapshot of the working tire warmer, which is saved in Salesforce to the work order. With SiteCall, the problem was resolved quickly while the technician was still on site. The technician received fast, on-the-job training, and there was no need to send a second technician to the field. Leveraging SiteCall for Salesforce Field Service Management, field technicians and remote experts can rapidly resolve issues encountered in the field. Field service teams have faster resolution times and reduced dispatches, leading to better service in a competitive environment. For more information on how to activate SiteCall, visit the Salesforce App Exchange or sitecall.com.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, so I think with this video we've shown that with this SiteCall solution that actually integrates seamlessly with the Salesforce Field Service Lightning mobile app, as you can see, just with the tap of a button you get a connection with the engineers that are at the main plant, with the R&D department or the experts to provide support, and actually get those eyes on site. And I think on this slide you see some key features that can be really make a difference. For example, just a simple thing like being able to make annotations over this live view, actually pointing out where somebody needs to change a setting or what button to push can be very helpful, or like AR integrated things, to measure things or to identify objects. Based on barcode scanning, get the right documentation available can be of great value again. And just also to tie it again to the Gardner model, which was shown at the beginning of the session, when you are a equipment-centric field service business, you are often facing an aging workforce where people do want to stay at the company, but the juniors are actually traveling. And in this case, you can support that aging workforce by having the seniors at your headquarters and actually have their eyes on site with the juniors, and by that also supporting the, I would say, knowledge transfer or capacity building. So, yeah,
Yeah. Is that something that you see as well, Perry? An aging workforce and potential for these type of innovations?
Yeah, definitely. I think that this could add on as another functionality, particularly in as well training and getting new engineers, which are also mostly willing to travel in general, to get that that backup support from the site, from all the specialists via this connection. So I really see opportunity and potential there. But as well at the same time from not only from our own people, but as well from the people from our customer. So the operators that are really in daily contact, let's say, with our products, that are operating them, just to make sure that we can have the additional eyes being set up very closely to them, without having to people send over to that specific site to actually see what's happening. So in this element of the portfolio, which is all around technical support, this is where this kicks in. And I think, just to give you an example, I mean, when a customer, particularly from a complex plant on this outcome-centric part, and is contacting us with an issue, first thing an engineer does is opens up the laptop and is connecting the data. So he's looking into all of these numeric things that we are controlling in the plant, and then to find the bug fixing and to get the plant up and running again as soon as possible. And I think that as well here, with this site call, giving this visual, well, I say add on to the data, as another functionality to help those engineers, not only to look at the data from the screen, but as well as it being combined with any visual screen that's coming live from either one of our people or one of the operators from the customer on site.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So Marcel, you see a lot of customers, you speak to customers all the time about field service. Do you see a lot of questions about this type of innovation?
Yeah, definitely. The both examples that were just mentioned, I mean, it's also from a cost perspective, sending an engineer every time when it might be a simple fix for the customer itself. It's a huge cost benefit for them. But also think about a lot of customers have a mixed bag of engineers. They have external engineers that they contract, and they have their own engineers. And contractors, for instance, in, let's say, solar panels, there are a lot of different players out there who can install it. But having an application where they can follow instructions and call your own engineers, your own experts, it gives them a lot of availability, a way better first resolution time. Let's say you don't have the answer. You have to go back, send an email, do a call. But if you actually have, as an external company, as an external contractor, can go right to the vendor or right to the original contracting party, it's a huge benefit for them as well. So definitely see these questions a lot. Yeah.
Maybe to add just a question to stress out the possibility of the FSL platform. We know that Salesforce has something called knowledge articles to support engineers. Maybe you can tell something about that, how that will work in these kind of contexts when an engineer is on site.
Yeah, if an engineer is on site and he doesn't have the correct knowledge article, in Cycle you can actually, the person can scan the barcode, you know what product you're talking about, and from a distance from the console, you can actually prompt those knowledge articles to them to really help them out with the right knowledge at the right place, or just really say to them what the steps they should follow. So it's really giving you the ability to, in context, give the right examples.
Yeah.
Maybe just interesting example from again from the Pentair case at Jungpumpen in Germany. One of the most important topics to digitize was the asset management. And during these on-site visits, we were sitting actually at the customer support desk. So where customers that have a pump in their basement or in their bathroom, and it gets broken and they need a break fix, they call the customer care department. And then the first question the support engineer by phone asks to the customers, what kind of pump do you have? And then they say, well, it's a yellow one. Well, yellow is the brand color of Jungpumpen. So then the customer service employee is like, okay, I know, but all pumps are yellow. What's the brand or the make, or what's the barcode or whatever? And then in many cases it's very difficult. And then in the past, engineers would go out with a van with a lot of stock and a lot of spare parts, which cost a lot of value because you have lots of remote inventory driving around. And then that one crucial part would not be in the van. So really being able to have a digital asset management system which is fully capable in the Salesforce Service Cloud and Field Service Lightning solution. And then on top of that, having those eyes on site and just ask the customer, please click on the message that I will send to you via text. And then you can point the camera on the pump, then I can see what model it is and what we need so that we can get your bathroom up to speed again. Because that's of course an important, I would say, requirement for just having it working, right? So It can be very simple by a use case, but very valuable and important for the field service operation to, let's say, operate in a smooth way. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I can totally imagine that really adds value, and also helps you with your first-time fix rate and all that. I'm going to have a look if we have another question from the audience. We do. Can we play around? Is there something that we can do people to get access to Sitecall?
Yeah, sure. So I think it's really great to announce this, but Sitecall actually has a 2-month free trial, also in the light of developments that remote support and virtual collaboration is more important than ever. You can actually get a 2-month free trial of this solution and get it up and running on your Salesforce Sales Cloud and Service Cloud without any cost, with full access to all features. So if you want to learn more about it, of course you can contact us after the webinar, and then we can get you up to speed and within hours. So
yeah. So just to be clear, we're not a reseller, but we just see a lot of value in the solution, right? And is it easy to implement? Is it?
Yeah, you could imagine that getting all this technology and AR and whatever installed in your Salesforce environment might be difficult, but as you mentioned, it's an App Exchange package. It's just downloading it, installing in your org, and you will be up and running within hours. So it's really, we're talking hours instead of days. So that's really something to kickstart your initiative of remote field service. Yeah,
that's impressive. Yeah. We're getting towards the end of our webinar. I'd like to thank our panelists, obviously, unless we have further questions from the audience, so you still have just a bit of time to pose a question. Final thoughts, Perry, from you.
Well, final thoughts. First of all, thanks for having me here and giving the opportunity to give some feedback on, from a Pentair perspective on our project with regards to FSL and what's still on our roadmap and what's still to come. So thanks a lot for that. Final closing thoughts. Like I already mentioned, very much enthusiastic and excited about all the great stuff that's still awaiting us, that we can further increase as well the customer satisfaction on the service that we are delivering. And I think the one that was already mentioned, and this last one in the Sitecall, I think really feel and believe that it might be a very good addition to our portfolio, and it will bring our remote support on a higher level. So that definitely is something as a takeaway for me today, to have a further look into that and to see what we can do there as perhaps the next step for the 3 sites already live in FSL.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy schedule to be with us today. It was much appreciated.
Very welcome.
Marcel, any final thoughts from you?
Like Pieter mentioned in the beginning, shortly, it's not only for hard hats. We talked about very asset-centric customers. We're also scheduling consultants. We're scheduling in nurses, for instance, who have to go all across the country to go to their patients. So everything that is scheduled and remote, I'd say that has a use case for field service.
Beautiful, thank you. Yeah, Pieter, last words for you.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts?
Yeah, for sure. Without doubt, I hope that with this session we have shown the audience and have inspired people that field service management is not just about implementing a product. And I think with these 3 perspectives I hope we have been able to really start from strategy and then move towards execution. So first understand what type of field service operation am I in and where do I want to be. That was the Gardner model. Then secondly, using the maturity matrix to use that to guide you in prioritizing to get to a, let's say, solid roadmap. I was happy that Perry was able to share a lot of experiences from the Pentair project, and I hope it was inspiring to people so that they can, let's say, take those learnings on their own journey, of course. And in the end, seeing what innovations are going on and being inspired by the platform, what Marcel has shown us. I hope with that, from the top-down perspective, that we tackle those topics. And I hope with that, people now feel confident to move, let's say, in the next step from becoming, learn towards leading in the field service business. So thanks for having us. And I found it very great to be here today. So.
Excellent. And that's actually a great summary as well from what we've spoken about today. So if you would like to learn more about the Nextview Maturity Matrix, contact us. Our contact details were just in the on screen. If you would learn more about the Gardner report, we will share that with you after this event. We also have some documentation, some research rather, that we published on servitization, which is also available for download from our website. So go there and register, and we'll be more than happy to share it with you. Obviously, I'd like to thank our panelists today, but also you, the audience. Thank you for your questions. That always makes it much more interesting. We do this on a monthly basis, so our next event is on June 17 and will be about Einstein Analytics. So if you would like to register for that as well, let us know. That's all what I have today. After this event, you'll be sent a quick summary to say what you liked from us today, what you don't like. If there's anything that we can improve upon, we'd love to hear it from you. So your feedback is much appreciated. And that leaves to me just to say thank you very much for attending. Stay safe. See you soon.